All right. So, welcome back, everyone. I hope you all got the chance to relax after submitting your projects. I'd like to welcome our final guest speaker of DesignX, Christopher, who will be speaking about how to market through esports and influencer partnerships. Christopher is a former esports commentator, program manager, and partnered streamer. He now works with influencers and esports managers across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa to form marketing relationships with the HyperX brand. So, without further ado, welcome Christopher.
Thank you, Teresa. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Thank you guys for taking the time on your Sunday to come by and hear me speak. And yeah, as Teresa said, I now work for HyperX here in Europe to run all of our influencers, esports, and celebrity marketing for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So to run a little bit more through on me to start with, my favorite topic. I started my journey through in esports back when I was about 15, 16, playing far too many video games ultimately, playing Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 4 in every waking moment that I could get. But I went on to university, it's when I really started. When I throughout the spare time around my lectures, I got involved in the Reddit communities, as it was back in the day, that were hosting fun StarCraft 2 community tournaments. Every week there would be a tournament where people could sign up and take part. We'd had anything from 50 to 500 people signing up and have some fun. And people wanted to watch those. People that got knocked out wanted to watch it. People that just weren't feeling up to taking part wanted to watch it. So I started commentating on those and streaming those and just generally having some fun with the friends the community was, and that kind of picked up and snowballed. Shortly after that, Riot Games released the Spectate feature for League of Legends. So back in the day, you had to be a Riot employee to use the Spectate tool and to get to that access of League of Legends, but they've brought it around and made it public as it is now. And when that first happened, I put my toes into there and thought, if I can commentate StarCraft 2 for a bit, then maybe I can commentate some League of Legends, and that kicked off in a big way. So I got picked up very quickly by some organizations and started doing some freelance League of Legends commentary back in 2012. I went out to IEM CBIT, as it was at that point. Back before Riot did everything in-house, they worked with ESL and they worked with third parties to run all their tournaments at other events. So CBIT was technically a tech show that was used to release new products, used to release new headsets or phones or TVs or all sorts of technology things back in the day as it was. And that's where they hosted the grand finals of what was at that time the League of Legends World Championships. Following on from that, following on some of the networks and the connections that I made at that event, I worked for Riot on League of Legends and on what is now the LCS, or the LEC is in Europe, back when it was in its very early days, its fledgling days. So while the LEC in Europe is now currently based in Berlin, it started in Cologne. So I lived there for a year working for Riot. On the early productions of that. After a year of working in Cologne, Riot finally found their new headquarters for Europe and moved it across to Berlin, where it is now. So I was there for a couple more years as we built that up and started it off. I then got a job offer from ESL again technically, but on behalf of Ubisoft, and moved across to work on Rainbow Six Siege. Then I was back in the commentary seat for that one. It was a natural fit because of my first-person shooter backgrounds, because of the Call of Duty games I played when it began, and absolutely fell in love with and loved Rainbow Six Siege. But ultimately, because that was based in Katowice, Poland, I got a little bit homesick, and ultimately started to settle down a little bit and wanted a bit more structure in my life and a bit more of a regular paycheck rather than the freelance life where things would fluctuate from month to month. I wanted to know what was coming in and plan for my future, and so I look forward a bit more. And as a result, this role at HyperX opened up. So for the last 3.5 years, this is where I've been, based out of London, based out of Kingsford on Thames, technically, here in the UK, running the influencer stuff here for HyperX. So that's a bit of me. Here is what League of Legends looked like back then, back in the day. I don't know if anyone here will have seen that before, but it's quite different to what the game looks like these days. And yeah, that's the first thing that I ever commentated on in League of Legends, which is good fun. But we're here to talk influence marketing, so that's enough about me. And ultimately, yes, I'm sure a lot of you know what marketing is in its roundabout way, but of course you're there to try and promote or sell products. And in this day and age, influence is one of the strongest ways you can do that due to the massive followings that influencers have reached, be it influencers from the gaming space or traditional celebrities or just people that are very vocal and very knowledgeable at their individual subjects. Those people are getting eyes on, those people are getting views. The game of marketing, the battle that we have as marketeers is to try and get those eyeballs looking at our product, to try and get those eyeballs swaying decisions and in our favor. And influencers are a great way to do that now. And there's a few different routes that you can take and a few different styles of influencers that are out there that help achieve that goal. We broke them down here at HyperX in these three categories. So it's brand influencers, sales focused influencers, or review focused influencers. So kicking off with the branding side of things, these are the really big names for the most part. There's a little bit of gray area, of course, where people will fudge between the lines on this, but for the most part, the brand influencers are the really big names. These are your Pokemans, these are your Valkyries, your Tim the Tapmans, your Zeds or your Ninjas. These are the guys who, by just being seen with your product, just being associated with these guys, it makes your brand aspirational. It makes it cool. In your cases, with the heads that you've designed, you want these people wearing your products because then other people want to be wearing them just to be like that guy. These are the people that make brands a success, like your Gucci's, like your Dior's, like your Palm Angels. If people are wearing those products, people wearing those shirts, wearing those logos, or wearing a HyperX logo, you know they mean business, you know they know what they're talking about, and it's cool to do that. And that generally comes with these guys that are huge names. They're the trendsetters. They're the ones that people follow. They're the aspirational guys. Then as we come slightly more down the funnel, as we call it, into the more sales element, this is where you try and convert people. So these give big names, they'll use the products, they'll flash them off, they'll have them on their heads. But for the most part, you know that their business is to advertise products. You know that's where it comes from. People know, especially in the influencer space these days, that's where their bread and butter is for most of these creators. They get paid by brands like us to tell you these things are great. And so, you can do that and it can be authentic and people will follow those for the most part. But sometimes when you've got someone that's getting 30,000 views every day on Twitch or 6 million views on every YouTube video and they're pushing your product, at the end of the day, it's because a brand has come to them with a big paycheck and told them to say that. So while it might tweak your interest if the product is of key, you're going to go for another person's opinion to see whether or not, well, was that just a paycheck? Or is that actually truth? And that's where the sales funnel comes in. These are the guys that have slightly smaller audiences, have a slightly more engaged connection with their fan base, and often are already using those products that are being pushed. So for us with the HyperX, and the way we work with things with the guys that we focus on sales, they're people that are already themselves bought HyperX products, already wearing their headsets on broadcast, already using our microphones on broadcast. And so when we come to approach them and say, hey, can you tell people these are awesome? They're doing it already. They've already done that for us. They've already put the work in. So when we then give them some money to do it some more, their audience doesn't immediately go, whoa, why are you being a shill? Why are you being a sellout? They're expecting it. They're used to it. They've seen it before. So it just goes to help further elevate them. It gives us some brand loyalty from their fan base because they support us and are welcoming us, supporting their favorite content creator. But it also means that people actually trust what it is they're saying about our product because they were doing it long before the money came along. The second element that comes in this speaks towards that quote that I placed earlier on in the top of the slide. Consumers these day and age have too much choice. I'm sure we've all been there. Open up Netflix, want something to watch, and spend so much time scrolling through and trying to pick something that you actually find out you spent more time trying to choose what to watch than actually watching it because there's so much choice in this day and age. And that can be true for anything, be it Netflix, be it YouTube, or be it headset selections. HyperX, while of course being the first and foremost and the best, isn't the only headset manufacturer on the market these days. But there's so many to choose from. How do people make that choice? In the grand scheme of things these days, people don't want to make that choice. Making a choice is hard. Making a choice takes willpower, it takes brain power, it takes effort, whether you realize it or not. So what we want to do is make that choice as easy as possible. And that's where these sales influencers come in. They are the guys who, by doing all that work for you, doing all that research for you, by doing all that background, when they say this is the best product to go for, their fans and the viewers following it trust that and go with that. And when they follow that decision, when they make that choice as well, they are confident they have made that right choice and they are not second guessing that for the rest of their purchase. A lot of people don't have $150, $200, $300 to spend on a headset willy-nilly for no reason. You don't want to buy that and then immediately regret it. So these sales guys are the ones that can really help convert those consumers and help really get that message across of that you are buying quality and you are buying what is a good place to put your money in this instance. And then that takes us to the third and the final one, which again, as I said, has a bit of gray, has a bit of overlap, but this is where you're finding your Linus Tech Tips of the world, your MKBHDs. These are the guys whose business came from breaking down the facts and the figures and specifications of every tech product under the sun. These guys, you'll rarely, if ever, find them, more often, if never, find them as an actual ambassador for a brand, because if they become a Samsung ambassador or a Sony ambassador or a HyperX ambassador, everything they say about every other product instantly becomes tainted because, well, they're not going to say as nice things about a Sony product if they're a Samsung ambassador or a Bose headset if they're a HyperX ambassador because they're being paid by HyperX. So of course they're going to say the nicest things about it. So they'll generally avoid long-term affiliations with any brand so they can stay as impartial as possible and just break down the numbers. Now, the big names, the massive ones, the Linuses and the MKBs, as I mentioned, a few others will, of course, always wrap up their videos and end it with, this is my personal opinion. This is what's best for me. But because throughout the course of the rest of their videos and the rest of their content, they'll have broken down all the features, all the specifications for every product that they've reviewed, they will also caveat that with, this is best for me because of these things. You might have a different use case, a different need case for these products. So using what I've just shared, using what I have broken down, watch it back over, and hopefully you can make the best choice for you with all that information at hand. And these guys are obviously still great to have look at your product. We still want them to have eyes on and still review our products, because ultimately, if we don't believe in our products, who does? And we obviously do believe in our products. High praise products are fantastic. And that means when we give them to these guys, when they sit there and break them down alongside all the other headsets that are made and all the other products that are made by our competitors, we know we'll still shine to the top because our products are that great. We don't need to pay them money to say nice things about it, because the product will speak for itself. There's still a very big and important part of influence marketing, of course, to have these guys do that and to break that down for us. But it's less of a active go out and search and find them as it would be with a sales and a brand ambassador, because they're going to want to review our products because they are great and because they are a competitive and top level product to go up against the other heavy hitters in the space. Next up, you need to go to, what is your market? Who are you selling your product to? And this then ties back into what influencers you're going to select from each of those points. You've got your headset, you've broken it down, you've designed it. It's got the speakers in the side caps, it's got a microphone attached in the front, it's got a headband over the top. Those are all standards. But what has it got that really sets it apart from every other headset on the market? Has it got a higher quality microphone? Has it got higher quality speakers? Has it got RGB lights all over it? What is it that makes it different from everything else? And why is that differentiator important to a consumer? What is it that they are going to be buying when they buy your headset that they can't get from someone else's? And once you figure out what that is, once you know where that is, once you know where that USP is, who is that USP important to? Who wants that? The biggest company in the world right now by market cap, $2.4 trillion, is Apple. This week, Apple finally reached over 50% saturation of Apple devices in the US. They've been doing this for a long, long time now, but only this week have they managed to break that 50% US market number of using the iPhone. It is a fantastic product and it is huge, but even the iPhone is not for everyone. No one is going to make a product that works for everyone. So you need to find out, who is your product for? Who is your headset targeted at? And then you need to go and find influencers that also hit that market. And the easiest way to do this is that most of the time, and the best product design will be a product that you yourself love. You've made something that you want. You'll have found a gap in the market that you think, you know what, in my day-to-day, I've used countless headsets, I've used loads, but I've not had one that's got this feature. So I'm going to make one that has it in there. You're probably not alone in that fact, but you're the one that's done the design, you're the one that's made it up, you're the one that's invented this thing. So now, what influencers do you enjoy watching? What influencers have other fans like you watching them? Those most likely will have similar needs or similar wants in their headsets, and therefore will be a perfect target market for you. Now, that might not be the case for everyone. Maybe someone's watched their little brother or their little sister play in game and decided, actually, I can fix a problem they have, and I've designed a product for them. That's fine. But then go and find the influencers that they're watching. Go and find the people that they're listening to. And again, their audiences will often have a similar overlap with the target market that you're going for. You need to find people that speak to your customer. Because if you're speaking to the wrong person, if you're trying to sell a San Francisco 49ers jersey to a Cowboys fan, it's not going to go anywhere, no matter how much marketing spend you put behind it, no matter how much money you throw at the problem, it's not going to go anywhere. Once you've got that, once you've picked your influencers, once you know who it is you're going to speak to, once you know the audience you're after, how do you actually go about working with these influencers? This is the toughest bit. And this is the bit where you can really have a bit of fun, to be honest, because every influencer is different. Every content creator, as they go by now, has a different niche, has a different unique. As we say, we're looking for a headset with an individual USP to hit their market. Every content creator has that similar thing too. That's how they stood out. That's how they grew their audience. So how do you then work with each one? It's going to be tailored. These are just some very standard example deliverables that you can run with. So first of all, of course, you've got your product, You want to see it in the hands of these content creators. You want to see it being used by them. You want their fans to see it being used so that they know it's authentic, so they know it's something they're actually trusting. So you want them to tweet once a month that it's in there. You want them to post it once a week on their Instagram stories and have it be seen. It doesn't have to be a hashtag ad, go and buy this product every single week, but just something that shows its presence, something that shows it's there, and it's not something they've just picked up once, done a post about and forgotten. Something that keeps it relevant at all times. That's a bit of a staple you're going to want in the base of all of these agreements so that you're always present. But then the real cost spends start to come in, and then the real niche angles start to mix into the mix. What do you want to get out of the agreement? What is it you're going for? Are you going for a brand influencer play, or are you going for a sales influencer play? If you're going for a brand play, then maybe you want to go right down to the bottom of this list and go with some of the big things. Go with something wild, go with something memorable, go with something that's going to go viral. Or if you're going for a sales conversion, maybe you want to do something that has detailed breakdown of what the product is, why it's fantastic, and where and how to buy it, in which case you want your in-video adverts. You want that video where people start and, hey, welcome to the video, welcome to my channel. This is what we're going to do today. But first, a word from our sponsor. Maybe that's where you want to be. And that word from the sponsor, that 30-second, that 45-second segment, that script tells them, this is a fantastic headset. This is where it is. This is where you can go and buy it. That's what you're after. Those are your goals. Those are those conversions. But maybe you want a video that's more in Mr. Beast side of things, whereby yes, your headset is at the center of it, but he goes and does something that's huge and that will be clipped for days and that will have GIFs made out of it and that will have people talking about it for months on end and just have you there by association. You need to pick what your goals are and tailor your agreement, tailor your partnership around it. Twitch logo placement obviously speaks for itself. As I said, we focus heavily here at HyperX on gaming creators. Those are largely Twitch and YouTube at their core, because gaming content is obviously tailored largely to that sort of longer form or that edited form of content that comes with that. They all do obviously have overlaps into YouTube and Twitter and TikTok and all the other social platforms, but the bulk of their audience tends to come from Twitch or YouTube, as those are the two homes for it. So just, again, having the logo placement in every single Twitch stream for 8, 12, 16 hours a day can go a long way into making people think about your brand when they're coming to purchase their next headset or their mice or their keyboards. Then we start to tier up a little bit more and start to think, okay, we have this big, famous, awesome, cool person, be it a Timber Tapper, be it a Pokemon, be it a Valkyrie. We want people to take note of our next headset launch or our next party. Now, HyperX is turning 20 this month. We are 20 years old as a brand. So we're doing a bunch of parties across the globe to celebrate that fact. We're going to want some people to come. We're going to want some cool people there. So do we want some influencers there? Well, yeah, that's going to cost us some money. That's part of their job. It takes time away from them creating their normal content. That takes time away from them doing what they would otherwise be doing to build their audience, to do something for you. So that's going to cost you some cash. So you got to build that into the agreement. So if you want them to come down for a day and film a video, that's got to go into the agreement. We, 2 years ago, launched the HyperX Cloud Orbit and the Cloud Orbit S. So with a name like Orbit, we only thought of one opportunity and one thing to do, and we sent it to space. So we brought our ambassador from Spain, from Norway, and then one of our UK-based ambassadors over to England, up to Sheffield. We strapped a headset to a weather balloon and we sent it up to space. And we obviously put it all on camera. We put it all on video. We had these guys come through, and yeah, it's the sort of thing that people love to watch. We've still got GIFs that are used to this day in internal presentations and on social media from that video shoot, because no one ever thought that a PUBG/Call of Duty streamer from Norway, a Valorant streamer from Spain, and an Overwatch streamer from the UK would really be involved in doing something like that. But they enjoyed watching it. It's different. We as a brand facilitated doing something that no one would be able to really do in their day-to-day or in their normal life, or in some cases hadn't even imagined to do. But we made it there. So does it really tell you how good the headset is? Does it really tell you how amazing the sound quality is? This was a $300 headset. It was the top of the range for what HyperX do, and it had some fantastic features in that sense. But what does sending it to space tell you about that? It does not. But it made people talk. It got people thinking about it. It kept that Orbit name in its face. And rather than using faceless models, rather than using random people in this video, we had our influencers in there. So that immediately prompted more conversation from their audience. It immediately prompted more engagement from their audience. It wanted their audience to say, where have you been for the last 3 days? What were you up to? What were you doing? And then the big reveal of that video got them talking about it. So putting these ambassadors, putting these influencers into your content really goes a long way in just getting those early eyes on and helping that snowball of virality and that snowball of content rolling and down the line. The special event stuff, as I touched on briefly, it's a similar kind of element, but you're having a big party, you want cool people there, you want it to be a party that people want to be at, you want it to be something that is exciting and has people talking about and gets press coverage, has organic social. Well, you want your ambassadors there. It's going to go in the contract. They have to take time out of their day to be there, so you put it on through. You want the flagship party of your, or flagship name of your party to be David Beckham's coming down to this party, by all means, but you're going to have to pay him for his time for it. So if you've got that plan in your future, put it in your agreements. And then, yeah, finally, I've already done this one, but there's bespoke content. If you want, say, Mr. Beast to make a dedicated video around your headset, you're going to have to pay him a lot of money to make a Mr. Beast video. Those things are not cheap. So if you want you to be the focus of it, instead of him doing his normal ideas or his normal content pieces, that's going to cost a bunch of money. That's the same for influencers of all tier, of all level. If you want them to make something that is dedicated to you and around you, you need to pay them for that time and you need to help them with that. Then the final thing on that point is that this thing takes time. Influencers are seen often by a lot of people in the industry as something that you can quickly throw a bunch of cash at, and a week later they'll make something and it'll come out the other end and it'll go viral and it'll be huge and everyone will be talking about your product. But that's not necessarily true. The best content creators this day and age, with the teams they have behind them and even themselves, are production houses. They are on par with some TV studios and movie studios in some cases. Some of these teams are gigantic. But this takes time to work. You've got to give it that time. So you need to look at, how are you planning to market your product? How are you planning to market your headset? And what's the right influencer to work with? If you've got a 2-week turnaround, this product's coming out in 2 weeks' time and we need people to talk about it, then getting someone to make an entire bespoke piece of content maybe isn't the way you want to go. Maybe you just want to run with a situation whereby you get 5 smaller names to put it on their head and tweet about it with a generic photo, instead of one person trying to rush make a bespoke piece of content in 2 weeks. If you've got a year to work with it, by all means, go big, spend a lot of money on it, put a lot of time into it, create this custom piece of content that everyone will be talking about for a year's time. But also think about the outcome of your goals. Is this a headset that is completely changing the game? This is a headset that no one has ever seen or done before. Is it worthy of that kind of investment and that kind of time? Or is it something that ultimately is good, it's nice, it's comfortable, it does its job, but it's just a staple run-of-the-mill headset that will be the bread and butter of your income, that will serve everyone fine and be fairly generic? Well, then maybe you just need to see as many people as possible wearing it and using it. Once everyone sees everyone use it, everyone walks around and knows that AirPods are great, not because you've got thousands of people out there doing crazy things with AirPods and telling you everyone that AirPods are the best thing they've ever had, but because everyone actually uses them. Why would that many people be using this product if they weren't that great? So maybe your strategy is actually just to spread it far and wide and get as many people using your product organically, and then letting the product speak for itself. Not everything needs a big flashy video and a big over-the-top viral moment. Sometimes when the product is that great, it can do the work for you. One of the other things that I forgot to mention in one of the earlier slides is that the brand piece doesn't just speak to making your individual product cool. It also needs to speak to your wider organization, your wider company. HyperX, as the tagline says on the wall behind me, we live and die by we're all gamers. Yeah, we want to see ourselves as that brand for every gamer under the sun, be it someone who's playing 20 minutes of a mobile game, Candy Crush, Slay the Spire, on their phone, on their commute to work or school, or be it someone that's playing 14, 16 hours a day, competing for millions of dollars at the international later this year. We're all gamers within that spectrum. And as a result, we as a brand need to have all of our marketing efforts and all of our ambassadors reflect that. If we want to be a brand whereby our products work for every gamer, then our ambassador roster needs to reflect that of every gamer. So we work very hard to ensure that there is a representative of every background, of every sexuality, of every heritage within the HyperX ambassador roster across the globe. Because if we are all gamers and we are making products for all gamers, then our ambassador roster cannot be a one niche, one hit wonder of straight white males. That doesn't work that way. And you need to consider that with your brand too. What are your target customers? Who are your target demographics? What is the USP of your product? And who do you want that to be for? If you want it to be for everyone, then you need your brand to be seen by everyone and be welcoming to everyone. You can't speak to one audience. You can't speak to one niche and expect all the others to follow along with you. They're going to feel ignored. They're not going to feel talked to. And the branding goes a long way for that. Branding is very much how people see your brand when they think about your brand. When they see your name, what else do they think about? people see HyperX, thanks to the work we've done with influencers and with esports teams, we get people thinking about success. We have people thinking about winning. The Cloud 2 headset, this is the wireless version, but the Cloud 2 headset that is cabled and has been a staple of HyperX for the last 6 years, got its point, got its success because it was seen and used by some of the most successful Counter-Strike teams in the world, and still is, because it's a fantastic product. So when people see HyperX now and think of HyperX, they still see that. They still see that success. They still see that winning mentality. But they also, thanks to the words cloud in our naming, go with comfort. That's what the cloud is there for. The earpads on these things are incredibly soft. The headbands are incredibly soft, but they're incredibly durable at the same time. They're lightweight, they're comfortable, they sit there. That was all part of that brand image. That's what people think of. So you've got to think bigger picture when it comes to who it is you're working with. What are they reflecting? Are they reflecting the values that you want in your brand? Are they reflecting the message that you want your brand to portray? When people see that influencer, what do they think of? If it's the same thing that you want them to think of when they're thinking of HyperX, then great. That's a partnership you might want to explore. But if they're saying something completely opposite, if they're seeing a influencer whose favorite color is blue and who headsets are green, maybe there's a difference there. You need to think about, what does your brand portray? What does your brand put forward? And who are you working with, and whether they line up with that? And that's me. There's a lot more, I think, that goes into influencer marketing in the grand scheme of things, but ultimately it's a topic that we could talk about all day long and could still end up with more to go on it. So yeah, I wanted to open it up, see if there's any questions. I threw a lot of information forward and a lot of things in that moment, but yeah, I wanted to leave some time for questions. Thank you for listening.